The Queen today officially welcomed the UK's new £3.1 billion aircraft carrier at a ceremony to commission it into the Royal Navy fleet. At 280 meters long and with an estimated half-a-century working life, the 65,000-ton behemoth aircraft carrier is the most powerful warship ever built by the UK. The Queen, Princess Anne and First Sea Lord Admiral Sir Philip Jones today attended the ceremony along with 3,700 guests in Portsmouth, Hampshire. The Queen, wearing a purple outfit, arrived on board using a specially installed lift to bring her up to the hangar for the occasion and was shown around by the ship's commanding officer Captain Jerry Kyd. Prime Minister Theresa May had been due to attend today but cancelled amid ongoing talks over Brexit. Giving a speech today, the Queen said of HMS Queen Elizabeth, which has been dubbed Big Lizzie, a true flagship for the 21st century. The most powerful and capable ship ever to raise the white ensign, she will in the years and decades ahead, represent this country's resolve on the global stage. On her arrival, the national anthem was played before the Queen and Anne inspected a guard on parade. She then received the royal salute as the white ensign was raised for the first time on the flight deck, broadcast into the hangar on large screens. An audible sigh of relief could be heard from the ship's company as the ensign, initially slightly entangled, opened out fully and flew freely in the wind. The Queen said, "We are gathered here in Portsmouth today, just a short distance from HMS Victory, a flagship of our seafaring past and a reminder of the debt we owe to the Royal Navy, which, for more than 500 years, has protected the people of this country and our interests around the world." Like HMS Victory, HMS Queen Elizabeth embodies the best of British technology and innovation. At the forefront of these responsibilities will be the men and women of the Royal Navy and Royal Marines, supported by the Army, Royal Air Force and by coalition partners. As the daughter, wife and mother of naval officers, I recognize the unique demands our nation asks of you. I will always value my special link with HMS Queen Elizabeth, her ship's company and their families. As you prepare to take this country's message of peace, partnership and prosperities across the seas and oceans of the world, the Lord High Admiral, the Duke of Edinburgh, joins me in wishing you well in all your endeavours. Cakes created for the event including a scale model of the carrier and others depicting the Queen and sailors on parade, including one fainting sailor shown fallen on his face, were on show. The ceremony was organized to commission the carrier into the fleet, but the Aircraft Carrier Alliance confirmed that the Navy had formally accepted the ship on Thursday, meaning it had been fully handed over to the MoD. Defence Secretary Gavin Williamson also attended to witness the huge vessel being welcomed into the fleet. He said today, "It is an honor to witness the crowning moment of an extraordinarily busy year for the Royal Navy that has seen us name the second carrier, HMS Prince of Wales, cut steel on the first Type 26 frigates and launch the national shipbuilding strategy." Our new aircraft carrier is the epitome of British design and dexterity, at the core of our efforts to build an armed forces fit for the future. For the next half a century, both carriers will advance our interests around the globe, providing the most visible symbol of intent and commitment to protect the UK from intensifying threats, wherever they may come. We have been working, the Navy have been working, the Ministry of Defence have been working to get it ready for the last 20 years. This is a very important moment. The ceremony finished with a cake representing the ship being cut by the commanding officer's wife Karen Kyd and the youngest member of the ship's company steward Callum Hui, 17, from Linton, Devon. Describing the moment, which is a service tradition, as a definite peak in his short career, he said, "It will probably be one of the stories you tell your kids." The families of crew members of the new aircraft carrier have spoken of their pride in their loved ones. Able Seaman Oscar Russell, 21, of Portsmouth, is the second member of his family to serve on Queen Elizabeth. His great-grandfather Archer Thomas Russell served on the previous Queen Elizabeth in 1921. Ab Russell's father, who was sitting in the stands of the warship's hangar for the commission ceremony, said it was a momentous day. He said, "We are so incredibly proud of Oscar. He is probably the only person serving on the ship now to have a relative who was on the last HMS Queen Elizabeth." Ab Russell's mother Dana, 52, of Leeds, added, "I'm so excited and really proud of him." This is just something to really celebrate. It's the greatest ship in the world. It's an unbelievable experience. Petty Officer Peter Snepp, of Gosport, near Portsmouth, was supported by his mother, Linda. The 38-year-old sailor, who joined the ship's company 8 weeks ago as a gas turbine engineer, said, "This is a huge day for all of us." Days like today are what you join the armed forces for. Mrs. Snepp said, "This is a one-off." "I'm so proud for him being on the ship. He is the third generation of his family in the Royal Navy. It's amazing he is on a ship that's making history." Anita Sanders, of Portsmouth, was waiting for her husband Lieutenant Lee Sanders, with his mother and father Colin, 63, and Marie, 63, and their children Nancy, 6, and Constance, 7. She said, "He joined the ship in Recite and he leaves the ship today. He has seen it from scaffolding to where she is today. It's amazing." Senior Warfare Officer, Lieutenant Commander Nick Leeson, revealed the ship's 700-strong company had been undertaking a healthy amount of activity to ensure the vessel was ready for the ceremony. Lieutenant Commander Leeson is the officer commanding the Royal Guard during the ceremony, and the Queen, accompanied by Captain Kyd, inspected the front rank. Captain Kyd described the commissioning ceremony as a major milestone. He said, "Building aircraft carriers is not for the faint-hearted. There are very few countries who can do this around the world. So we should look at our British industry, our designers, all the skills, all the production companies around the country, the shipyards from Devon through to Fife, to the Royal Navy, who have come together to make this happen. We should be really proud as a country. This has been a national endeavor. It has just been fantastic. It is really a culmination of all our hard work. Set to be the nation's future flagship, the aircraft carrier can be pressed into action for various tasks such as high-intensity warfighting or providing humanitarian aid and disaster relief. She will also serve as a floating military base for the F-35B stealth fighter jets that will launch from the deck of the vessel to undertake missions. Lieutenant Commander Leeson added, "I will be in the middle of the hangar in front of the 96-man guard, and I will be reporting the guard and speaking to the Queen as she comes to inspect us." It is a massive thing of personal pride for me. It will be the first time that I have met the Queen, so it is a real honor and a real privilege, and it is the first time I have commissioned a ship into service as well. Just to be associated with this amazing ship is a real privilege. Asked if the crew had been tidying up ahead of the big day, he said there had been a healthy amount of activity, stressing that everyone wanted to make sure the ship looks her best on this magnificent day. To prepare for the ceremony, the hangar of the aircraft carrier has been cleared and seating installed, as well as screens so that those attending were able to witness the white ensign being raised on the top deck. Lieutenant Commander Leeson added of the ceremony, "It is a big deal, but we are delighted to be on show. We are delighted to be here presenting this magnificent ship to our friends, to our family and to the nation essentially." Since we have been back in our base port of Portsmouth, we have really been cracking on with the commissioning preparations, and this last week it has been our sole focus. Hoisting the white ensign above HMS Queen Elizabeth for the first time will be a day to look back on forever, a young sailor carrying out the honor has said. The flag is one of the world's most recognizable naval standards and has flown from British warships, boats, bases, and Royal Marine craft for more than 150 years. Featuring a St. George's cross on a white background and a Union flag in the upper left corner, the white ensign was raised above HMS Queen Elizabeth for the first time today. Able Seaman Ellie Smith, 20, from Hull said she was excited to be tasked with the job of raising the white ensign. Able Seaman Jessica Hughes, 26, from Portsmouth, pulled the ropes to hoist the flag while the national anthem was played. The youngest crew member serving on HMS Queen Elizabeth cut the cake during a ceremony as the ship was accepted into the Royal Navy. He was joined in slicing the aircraft carrier cake by the wife of Commanding Officer, Captain Kyd. Using a sword, they were watched by the Queen and guests including the First Sea Lord, Admiral Sir Philip Jones, as well as Steward Huey's mother, Pac, and brother, Vincent. Asked if he is treated any differently as the youngest member of the ship's 700-strong company, he said he is dealt with exactly the same as anyone else. He added, "When you're working, you don't really notice that you are under 18. Chef's pride at cooking for the Queen and her guests. Petty Officer Dean Allen is cooking for the royal party on board HMS Queen Elizabeth. Cooking lunch for the Queen is something that cannot be beaten," the chef in charge of feeding the monarch during a visit to her namesake warship has said. At 65,000 tons, HMS Queen Elizabeth is the biggest and most powerful vessel ever built by Britain, and will be formally commissioned into the Royal Navy on Thursday. Following the ceremony, the Queen will enjoy a three-course lunch on board the ship, something which Petty Officer Dean Allen said his team of chefs were very excited about. "I don't think you can go bigger than feeding the Queen. It is the biggest catering moment of my career," he told the press association. The chefs are buzzing, they can't wait, they have been looking forward to Thursday for a long time, the commissioning and feeding the Queen. Having served in the armed forces for 20 years, 18 of which were in the Army with the Royal Logistics Corps, the 37-year-old from Warminster said he has cooked for the royal family before. But Poe Allen said he was not feeling pressure and was instead excited about the task at hand. Describing the menu, he revealed it was very much a team effort in that the Queen picked from a number of options sent to the palace. She has got a salmon-He on for starter. For main course she has got a double rib of British lamb with a bean cassoulet, he said. And for pudding she has got a burnt blood orange tart with poached meringue. Poe Allen said there was no real theme to the dishes being served, just that the chefs came up with the ideas and tried to create something new. On Thursday a team of 48 chefs will have to feed more than 3,700 mouths, a number which also includes the ship's company and their families, plus a charity dinner that evening. Poe Allen added, "It will go right, then we can all sit down for some beers afterwards." The team are preparing the Queen a salmon-He on for starter and double rib of British lamb with a burnt orange tart and poached meringue for her pudding,